look at all the beautiful dinosaurs on your screen, you might be asking, why are there a bunch of dinosaurs and then also a couple of substitutes? Well, that, my friends, is because we are watching the best metagame, Paleomons, to a beautiful soundtrack of dinosaur synth. For the semi-final of PetMod's Premier League, I have my own semi-final game later. This is the other semi, which is Draco Pope, the Fire Emblem 11 referential name of the Chungler, against Mr. Beef Cultist. Both of them appear to have kind of pivoty, bulky offense type teams, but it's a bit more of a defensive one from the Chungler. There's a load of guys that, like Caracosta, Bastiodon, that enjoy having the grassy healing, and they do this, they plot up. There's Big Aurorus, and this is probably going to be a Schizo Eevee spread that lives even I was going to say a Pixie Plate Moonblast, but eat that too. Yami play rough. Dodger play rough. That's a pretty lovely start. Goodbye Yeezolt, that thing is made of papier-mâché. And that's pretty big because the Tyrantrum kills it anyway, never mind. That's probably banded. I was going to say that now the Tyrantrum can't kill, and so Beef has to trade another thing, but Tyrantrum is a pretty strong guy, so that's not the case. And this is all going off head calcs, because the thing with Paleomons is that you just can't fucking calc anything, because they're all fake mons with kind of new typings, new movesets, new stats, all of that. Aurorus is a dragon ghost, because apparently that's what it was before it got fossilized. Also, moderately interestingly, it looks like Beef didn't expect that to kill, because they just say GG, but then Tyrantrum comes in and it just kind of cooks. And so, where does that leave us? It's probably got Iron Head. They usually do, but Bastiodon would live, so it just throws off the Petroglyph rather than a Dazzle, making Kabutops not as free, but that's probably an Assault Vest Kabutops. Yeah, it's definitely not offensive at the very least. Kabutops in this, by the way, is centralizing as balls. They've nerfed it twice over the course of this tour. They took Earth Power off it, then they took Scald and some special attack off it, but it's Water Poison, it's got Regenerator, it's got Knock and Flip Turn, and it's just nice, but not for Beef, because Beef has to trade it. But here comes one Gorgillion, ready to probably drop a Power Whip on this and kind of cook it. And who do you go here? You could do a kind of ballsy Alter Combat, which Alter Combat is basically Hawlucha. You could do a ballsy Alter Combat on the grass move, that obviously you get cooked if they go for a Fairy. You've got your Goldoco, but maybe you want that guy's HP for Tyrantrum still, is my thought, because the Tyrantrum is a Giga Threat. Here's the Gorgeist, who gives there's different Gorgeist forms that have different abilities, by the way. That's why this one's got Fairy Aura and this one's a different size with Grassy Surge, but you give it the Grassy Terrain and it does a billion with Wood Hammer. And now you're going to get outsped and killed by the Play Rough, I think. So what have you still got as the Chungler? If you can get some damage on the Venuplura, who's a Poison Electric guy, then you just win. With your Alter Combat, I think, the Armaldo doesn't look like it's toxic, so it can't really touch you, so you don't even really have to have an SD up before that gets in. So I think you just need damage on the Venuplura, but I'm not really sure how you force that. The Caracosta looks not very inspiring. It has Leatherback, which is Lightning Rod, but it raises your Spadef, so it is quite good at coming in on the Venuplura, but then they just U-turn out into the Armaldo. Can Bastiodon... It could be Rest, maybe. But the Bastiodon's already taken a load of damage, which is kind of tough. I hope we're enjoying, by the way, this lovely Dungeon Synth. Well, it's kind of Dungeon Synth, it's Dinosaur Synth, it's a vibe. I like Dungeon Synth, good genre. But this is just the kind of teaser, really, because I'm going to hopefully after we win the tour, I'm going to be making a video going over all of my games, and it's kind of balls to watch because you don't know what any of these mons do, and half of them don't even have art. I feel like they should just take the art from cat mons or something. But that doesn't happen, and the jungler is quite low on time. Do they need... because the Gorgeist is going to just die to the Tyrantrum now from Ironhead, I think. So you kind of don't have to keep it. Yeah, you just Goldoka, right? You're not Grassy Seed, but you still take it relatively well, especially your probably lefties. Yeah, so you're getting healed back up, which is quite nice. Can you just Sword Stance here? Maybe you can, because if they go Venuplura, you get 1,000,000 damage, and Armaldo, you've still got the grassy terrain, so Earthquake's not going to do loads. Well, I don't know if that really benefits you to SD up and hit into the Armaldo, if that's necessary. Do you just double and catch the Armaldo here? Armaldo is quite free. I'm gonna say... I don't know, because Alta Combat is just awkward because they have the Venuplura, and especially with grassy terrain up, you can't even really just slam into it to get some chip. So what do you do here? Okay, I've kind of been looking at this from the jungler's perspective. What did Beef want to do? I think Beef has to find ways to get the Tyrantrum in and just click buttons at this point. Though if you're banded, it's a little bit tricky because there's Dark Resists and there's Dragon Immunities. There's Draconic Rend, which is a strong jaw boosted dragon move that it gets. Maybe Tyrantrum's just really strong and it just killed Aurorus, even without a choice band boost, and it's like Lum or something. But I don't think so. I think it's probably a banded Tyrantrum, which is cool. There's the Armaldo. There's a Swords Dance or a double. Yep, okay. Yep, jungler goes for the double. And to be fair, with the defense boost, the Venuplura isn't the most threatening thing in the world. So maybe you can just kind of brute force through it, but if it does just throw a Toxic at you, then that's kind of tough. And Alta Combat doesn't get Substitute, so you don't really have that angle. Do you just try and muscle through the Venuplura? I think it might be your best shot. Because if you were gonna switch, then you would have just hit here to put a bit of damage on it and get some intel on its EV spreads. So maybe you just Acro, which I think will probably do about 40 or so. Which is info. If it isn't toxic, then you're kind of in business. Because it has strength zap, but you can just SD up through that. And if you're Roost, then you can probably just live through its wild charging. But of course, if it's toxic, then you're gonna just get outlasted, and that's kind of tough. You could SD again, but then you're gonna get strength zapped on the following turn. I think you, as jungler, you have to hope that this isn't toxic. I think if it's toxic, then things are just really tough. Because you could just Caracosta, and then you like knock as they go Armaldo, and you take the lefties, but it doesn't really get you anywhere long term. Like after that, you just... knock on the Armaldo isn't important, because the Armaldo is not what you need dead, that's my point. So I think you just go for it. You could also Goldoka. No, that runs into the same ball. Yep, so here's hoping it's not toxic, and that's strength zap from Beef, which I think means no toxic, because if it was toxic, you obviously click it there. And this isn't gonna... Okay, that does 1 billion. That does do 1 billion, that does way more than I thought. I think that means it must be a just max speed and attack Venuplura when they're normally bulky, but you can just roost up and lose the effectiveness, and unless they want to like gunk shot and find a poison, then it starts to get kind of tough. I feel like +5 CC probably kills. Jungler is quite low on time because, again, you can't calc anything in this tier because you have to manually input everybody's stats and typings and moves. So it takes ages, and you just run out of time in like 2 seconds. I think CC probably kills. I assume that's what jungler's trying to find out. If it doesn't, you can just roost, and you're kind of chilling, and I think you can eventually get up to +6. It's kind of tough, and this is a tier that does make you need to use, that's a bad wild charge. Oh, but it does get the poison touch, which is really nice. But I say it's a bad wild charge because it makes you take some recoil, and now you're slightly lower than you would have been. And do you die? Yes, you do die. Yeah, and now you're gonna kill 2 more things before you die to the poison, which is quite tough. Can you roost on this? Maybe not, because it just would earthquake, or... Yeah, I mean, you kill that. And then they're going to give you the Tyrantrum too, and that's going to leave us with Life Orb Gorgeist versus the World, who can maybe dodge a gunk from the Caracosta, but I'm pretty sure it won't kill the Goldoko. Yeah, Alter Combat. It's a good mon. And Venipleura doesn't even really deal with it. Beef agrees with me that Alter Combat is quite good. My response to that is probably that you should have put Toxic on your Venipleura, but it is undeniably one of the strongest mons in the tier, and I won with it last week in similar circumstances. I'm the inventor of Grassy Seed Alter Combat, by the way, because I'm a prodigy who pushes Paleomons forwards. And the high horsepower does come out, and it does loads, but it doesn't do enough. Down goes one Gorgillion. And with that, the Chungler is going to successfully achieve a Chungling over Beef Cultist. Maybe I will see one of these people in the final next week. Thanks for watching. Bye.